I've cooked up a new Vegapunk list, and this one is for the Eastern meta. In our last video, we did a more modern Western meta for OP14. This is going into the Eastern format, as Eastern format has EBO3, which we will not have here in the West until way later than EBO4 and OP14, which are getting combined in the OP14 set. So we're in a weird, different position than they're at. So this is going to be more for those deck lists when we get EBO3. So when we get that is like, I think, March of next year. So if you are ready for that, you can continue to watch this as well if you're playing in the Western format, because you're going to see an updated, new, and improved Vegapunk deck list here. And I think this one really freaking cooks because of one card specifically that comes out in EBO3, and it's this Lilith that I've had people ask me to play. It's been a lot of Eastern players asking me to retouch on Vegapunk with the new updated support, and this Lilith is just way too good. It simply says, your turn on play, if you have 2 or less life, draw 1 card. The specific part of this card is that it says on your turn. So this isn't a card that we want to put into our life to come out whenever our opponent attacks us. This is a card that we want to cheat out with our 5-cost Vegapunk from the top 5 of our deck, or a card we want to put onto the board to draw cards to then put the cards that we draw into our life. You can use this early to cycle, to cheat out with your leader ability, just to draw an additional card and not lose hand size. That's the big downfall of Vegapunk, is losing hand size and running out of cards. That really is just the detrimental side of Vegapunk, which is why I decided to keep 2 Dureshi to draw 2 cards with trigger. We're having the Lilith to now draw cards. This card KOs 4 cost or less and draws a card, which I think is a great 2-up. And we have the Lilith here that searches the top 5 for an Egghead type and can also be cheated out with the Vegapunk here. To fit in this Atlas, or this Lilith, I mean, we went down to Pythagoras, which some people may not like this. Personally, I'm kind of okay with it because this is the weaker on KO. I find Atlas to be a lot stronger to have anti-removal, and I don't always have 4 cost or lowers I want in the trash to play out. It's going to be Lilith, Edison, or Frankie, and that's really all you have. So you're not always going to have these cards, as Lilith is a brick, so I can't counter out with it to put it in the trash to save Pythagoras to then have Pythagoras die to play out Lilith. I have to discard this card with like a Vegapunk to then cheat it out, and it's kind of a little too many steps for me. Then you also obviously have Edison, which is a draw 2 trash 2, which is good for filtering your hand and a good body to cheat out. Probably the best body to cheat out if you can't get this 3 cost in there. And then Frankie just does nothing. It's really just counter that you could put into the trash to then cheat out with Pythagoras on KO. If you have 2 or less life, then sometimes when you're going into combat with your opponent, you don't have 2 or less life because you have to gain life to not die. You know, going above that 2 life threshold is kind of bad for the deck. So we don't always get the Pythagoras when we need it. I've found too many times. While Atlas, if we have less life than our opponent, it just can't be KO'd in battle. So now I'd rather have a draw engine, making sure we have a good hand size and can stabilize in the late game. So I went down 1 Pythagoras. I went down 1 Luffy because 4 cost is just not the most important number right now. So personally, I'm just kind of ignoring it for the most part. I think 5 cost is always going to be much better here with Anami. And then I went down 1 of the Vanilla Shakas. This card is good to cheat out in the early game. It's great to cheat out off of the Vegapunk, getting a blocker on the board and a 5 cost 7k. Or a turn 1 5 cost 7k is also amazing. This card, I don't love lowering it, and I could see merit in maybe lowering the Atlas and then putting in the Shaka, but just know Shaka doesn't trigger out of life, which is kind of the downside. The issue is you always want to put this on the board. You never want to put this into life. So for the deck build that we're going with in the future, I think it's better to play 3 of the Shaka. It's super strong into many decks, but it's also not very strong into others, and sometimes it just doesn't work with the situation we're in. So instead, I lowered this down to 3, although I do love this card a lot, and that's how I was able to fit in 4 of the Liliths, 2 of the Dureshi still, and 4 of the Lilith here to search through our deck and get consistent combo pieces, draw a bunch of cards, and not run out of hand size. The rest of the package is just generic, you know, Vegapunk support with 4 of the Shaka blockers, 3 of the Bonnie. You can run anywhere between 2 and 4 of this card, especially with a lot more draw. Maybe you can go down to 2, but I do think this card is a great finisher for the deck and really important in your game plan, as you can play it on a 10 on turn, force your opponent to lose a life, attack them as well because it does have rush, and still gain a life, which I think is very valuable. Or you can cheat out another body on the board in case there's some reason you need another body on the board. So really strong here for the Jewelry Bonnie. I think 3 is a great number for the deck. And then 4 of the Rayquaza, Please Save Me. If you have 2 or less life, get plus 3k. Or trigger, play a 5 cost or less with the Egghead type from your trash. So we can cheat out Anami on our opponent's turn, KO something on their board. We can cheat out a Lilith to draw cards, a Vegapunk to play out something else from the top 5 and get a blocker, which is usually the best. Lilith is not a great option to cheat out, obviously from your trash, because it's on your opponent's turn. That's when you would trigger this. So Lilith is not the greatest option, but it's a 5 cost 6k at the end of the day, which is always a great stat line. Same here with the Atlas. They can't remove it. You can get the blockers, and again, Usually, you're cheating out the blockers here with Rayquaza, so that's the most important most of the time, is just to save you. It basically acts as 2 life. You take this life, and then you get a blocker on the board, and then that blocks out of another attack, basically just giving you 2 life in that situation. So really strong card here with Rayquaza, just for the trigger itself more than anything else, but it's still an amazing 3k counter whenever you need it. And finally, we're playing 2 of the Egghead stage. If you have 3 or less life, set one of your 5 cost or lower Egghead types as active. This is great to go aggressive with our Shakas, or to go aggressive with our other board, like the rest of our bodies on the board, without having your opponent having the ability to attack them, which is very important in this deck, as again, you run out of hand size countering out to save your characters. And a big thing about Vegapunk is knowing when to counter out specifically, and a lot of you guys comment that I do it incorrectly, and I want you to know I don't. There are certain times where you need to save the board, but if I have 5 characters on the board, I should not be saving it, because I'm going to replace one anyways. So just know, I know what I'm doing here. Trust me, I'm the Vegapunk guy. This is my deck profile right here for the Eastern format. I hope you guys enjoy. I think we're going to see that Vegapunk is definitely going to cook in the OP14 format. I'm excited to get the EBO3 support, so I hope you enjoy the games. Like and subscribe if you do. I'm excited to be back on YouTube. I keep talking about it in my last video, but I took a little hiatus, and now I'm back, baby, with some Vegapunk. Excited to play this here for the Eastern format. Let's play some games on the sim. Alright, we're going to take on a Mihawk first. I've tried to play 2 games, and both times my opponents have quit. We're going to mulligan this, and now we get to start the game, and we get to start our first game here with a Lilith. So I'm excited. I've gotten like 2-3 turns in, and I'm just dogging people, and they just forfeit. And I'm not going to put those in the video, because it's just not that fun. So we're going to play out the Perona that's going to search the Humandral. This is a 2k, and then if it goes into rest, you get to rest a 4 cost or less. We're going to go ahead and play out the Atlas, or the Lilith here, to then get to just draw a card for free. We now have removal in our hand, and we have the Lilith here to search. So we have a 3 cost, we have a removal, and we have a 5 cost 7k, depending on what we need to do. They play out the Kikinojo. When you end of your turn, restand this card as active. So pretty good here to use for the Mihawk leader effect. They're going to swing 7 at us. We are going to take and hopefully trigger something out, and we do. So we're going to be able to go hyper aggressive here with the 5-7 and the 3-5 hitting the board. They could play out the Humandral, but then they won't have a 5 cost to then rest things. If there is a character with 5 or more, set 3 Dawn as active. So actually they can. If your opponent has a 5 cost or less, that actually does work as well. So we're going to be able to swing 6 and 6 into our opponent. And then we're going to play the Lilith first to see if we find some better option than the 5 cost 7k Shaka. I don't know that we will, but there's always potential. They counter it with the Humandral, which is good information for us, so they can't rest our Lilith, which is always convenient. We'll play out the Lilith first to see, like I said, if there is something better we'd rather play. We don't have a Shaka yet. We also don't have a Rayquaza, and I'd rather not miss a Shaka, though. We'll go ahead and deploy a card. That will be the 5-7 Shaka. These are both 6Ks. They can't remove the Atlas. They can only swing the Lilith this turn. They could do a really big swing into it, and we would just let that go. It's not worth saving a card when you already have 3 bodies on the board, at least not this early. We do at least have some removal. They get to freeze a character, which is even a little better. Granted, they should have froze the Atlas, rested the Kikinojo, restand 3 Dawn, and then swing 8 into the Lilith. But that was our opponent's decision. That was the incorrect decision, in my personal opinion. Here we are going to probably have to gain a life if they hit us, because they can't hit the Atlas, right? So a little misplay by our opponent. They should have done things a little differently, but now they just hit us in the face. We do take, and then if your opponent has 7 or less, rest a card. No trigger. We will be able to gain life here, though, which is totally fine in this situation. We don't have a blocker, and they can only swing, 12 at us, so we don't really want to deal with that either. So we will gain a life. We won't have the ability to do the Dareshi this turn. So I'm just going to go 5, 6, and 7. Simple just pressure there. Remove the Bonnie with the Nami here, just discarding a Pythagoras, and then we'll gain a life. They take the 5, which is very interesting. So they take the 6, which is very interesting. So they take the 7, which is very interesting. So we're going to see what we can do. We're going to go ahead and play this out, use the card action. We're going to trash the Pythagoras, KO the Bonnie, add a card to the top of our life. That's going to be the Shaka blocker, and then we're going to pass. So we're sitting on 5k counter in hand, a blocker coming out of life, and they're going to only have 7 Dawn here. So they could play out, they can't even hit us, and then Dead Man's Game and then hit us again, because they only have 2 cards on the board, and they're both 2k. So we're still in a really good spot, actually, especially given the situation. They're hitting their 7 Dawn turn. They can play out the 7 cost 9k Shanks, rest it, nuke everything by minus 1000 power, get 3 active Dawn, and then we just save our board at that point, because I mean, basically the game's over. I mean, 7, 5, 6, 6, 5. We just split our Dawn between those and gain another life. So they play Coffin Boat. They get to draw a card. And this Mihawk is not drawing the right cards, it seems like. I'm not fully confident on their build, but hey, it is what it is. They're going to play out the Trafalgar Law, return a card to their hand, which is going to be the Perona Searcher, to then cheat out a different card with 5 costs or less, which is going to be Perona. this is the card to see. 2 of your opponent's characters, the 5 cost or less, cannot go into rest, so they're going to stop our Shaka, and I would say Lilith or Atlas would probably be a good option. I mean, granted, we're already at the same life total, so any of our board really is just going to be a good option. They also got a blocker on the board, which is important in this situation. So what we can do here is they rest the Kikinojo, they restand 3 Dawn, they probably swing 8 into Lilith here, and we will let the Lilith go. I know, again, some people disagree with that, but I'm not committing my whole hand when we're ahead and behind at the same time. So it's just not worth giving 2 cards right here. Instead, we're going to play the Vegapunk next turn. We're going to be at 8 Dawn. So 3, 1, we'll have 4 Dawn total to play with. So we can swing in for 7 and 7. We're just going to have to let this go. It's not worth swinging a 5. It's never worth it. Just to get 1 extra card for giving up 2 cards, not worth it. We will play the Vegapunk for 5, the Dareshi for 3. So we can play actually the Vegapunk for 1. And then the Dareshi for 3. Again, 7 and 7 just makes the most sense math-wise. I guess that's 8. So actually 7 and then 8, very telling of what we're going to do. My bad. Not thinking about how Atlas is a 8K. They should probably block in 2K because we're never going to hit them in the face. They have 1 Dawn active, so that says rest a card, get plus 4,000, so they can actually rest the Kikinojo and get out of the 8K as well. So they can just block 2K and then 4K counter out of this. That's probably what I would do. But they decide to 2K, 1K. We swing in for 8. Maybe they were worried we go 9, but then you block and then use the event. It also could just be Dead Man's Game. So Dead Man's Game would be a little weaker. It's only a 3K counter in this situation, so not nearly as good. Personally, I'm probably just taking this if I don't have an event just to get out of it for free, because then you just shut down the Bonnie and you hide behind blockers until you hit that Mihawk. You start freezing the entire board or freezing certain cards or nuking the board by minus 1K apiece, and that's what they decide to do here. We're going to Dareshi first. Look at the top 5. We'll be able to grab 2 cards. Not the greatest 2 cards, I'm not going to lie. So that is going to be kind of bad. We'll go ahead and deploy the Vegapunk here. Look at the top 5 and cheat out a... We could go with the Shaka. We could also go with the Lilith to draw a card here. We have 2 options, and both are good options, to say the least. I think we go with the Shaka. It's just a guaranteed blocker, right? I think a guaranteed blocker would be really good, because now that gives us 3 blockers, and we don't have to discard a card for the Vegapunk here. We also knew they would never block and just let the Trafalgar Law die. That was what makes sense, because you lose all the tempo on the board. We still have a good bit of counter here. So 2K, 2K, 1K, 1K, 6K total, and 3 blockers coming in. Again, Dead Man's Game, rest 4, then you get to rest both of these, and then you get to Leader Effect, rest the Kikinojo, restand 3 Dawn, then you'll have 8 Dawn to split between Mihawk, Perona, and Law. Instead they go with Hoodie Jones, they rest 2 cards, so that's why they took. That does make sense to me. That does in fact make sense to me, because now they can go into board, you know, they could just swing 2 into 0, they could do stuff like that. They're going to swing 6 into face first, so let's look at the math. Leader Effect, rest the Kikinojo, restand 3 Dawn, because they haven't done that yet, so they have 5 Dawn total. So 5 Dawn would be 7 leader, 7 here, 10 here, so it'd be, if we take this, we'd have to be able to counter a 2 8s, right? 1, 2, 3, so 3 Dawn on leader, 1 Dawn on Perona, 1 Dawn on Hoodie Jones, so 7, 8, 9. So 2K, 1K, 2K, 1K, and we have a blocker. We could not counter that, so we do have to counter this with a 2K. Now they can kind of decide to pivot into board, but they did swing with their blocker first, which I do believe is a misplay as well. Now they rest the Kikinojo, and now we have to get out of, what, 2... We still have to get out of 2 attacks here. It is going to be 8, 8, 8, so 2K, 1K, 1K gets out of 1 attack, so we can take this, use the trigger, we'll play it over top of the Vegapunk because it's just a 0K at that point, and then we only have to get out of 1, 8. 2K, 1K, 1K does get out of an 8K, so we should have guaranteed lethal here unless they somehow have a way to stop. No, even if they stop, no, they would have to rest the blocker somehow, and they can't do that because they can only play events from hand at this point, because it says you can't play character cards from your hand. So they swing in for 8. I think we'll just block and give it up, kind of baiting them in to say, hey, we don't have it. We totally don't have it. 2K, 1K, 1K. And that should be a good game. They committed all their Dawn because of how we blocked out right there. Kind of just saying, I don't think you got this. They had a Trichiliocosm, a 1K, and a Spiderweb, which would not have saved them in this situation. Granted, they could have Spiderwebbed, restand the blocker. That would have been 4K. They could have had a Trichiliocosm, 12k. So if we would have swung 17 into our opponent there, they would almost get out of it. 8k counter, 9k counter, they could get to 14. If they had, you know, just one more 2k, then they get the blocker. But then they have nothing for all these other cards at that point because they have so many bricks. So, hey, GG's to the Mihawk. This is a deck you need to basically just pilot super aggro against. Control the board while you can, but there's certain cards you just can't kill, like the Perona. Like, it's just useless to kill. In this situation, obviously, it would have been fine. But in most situations, it's not good. Yeah, GG's to the Mihawk, and on to the next game. That's a very good, highly competitive deck to play against, and I'm happy to see us get a win in our first full game. All right, now we're going to take on a Jinbe here. We're going to take second away from the Jinbe, and this is pretty good. I like anti-removal. I like Atlas. We're going to keep this. I think this is actually really good. We're going to have 3 bodies on the board by our turn 2. Anytime you have a 3 cost going second, you basically just keep the hand. We also have searching now in case we don't need to go too wide. Our opponent does have the Hotch on KO draw card, so what they can do is tap out and play some cards like Chew that draw them a card. They can play an Arlong that searches a card. They have plenty of options here. Our opponent could go 6 after this. Do we have a 2k? We do have a 2k, so we can take this first one, trigger out a body on the board, search the top 5. I want to grab the Lilith for the idea of the gameplay, but this Luffy is just too good in this match. We have to grab the Luffy here and pass. We're definitely playing the Luffy on this next turn. And the idea of this game is going to be board control and hope they don't see Gravity Blade. Gravity Blade is in fact a problem. They're going to play Chew here, draw another card. They're going to play Arlong here, draw another card. Actually search another card with 2 costs or higher from your deck. You grab the Arlong, this forces your opponent to discard a card or put a card to the bottom of the deck. They discard the Perfume Femur, swing in for another 5. We will counter this, and I think we're going to counter it with the Vegapunk here. I do like that idea for sure. We're going to go ahead and go 6 into 3 here. We will remove that off the board for sure. I think we're going to draw 2 cards rather than play a body on the board because we'll have 3 attacks and removal. So we're going to draw cards instead. I think counter is going to be very important in this situation, and they're going to be swinging a bunch of 5s, so 2k counters aren't as prevalent. We can grab the Shaka for later in the game, and we could go ahead and add a life because they are going to be swinging multiple times this turn. They can't remove the Atlas. They could also just choose not to attack, but I think we're going to go for deploying the Monkey D. Luffy and then pass to our opponent. I don't really want them swinging our Lilith this early, so we're going to try more of a board control strategy in this situation and see how that works for us. And yeah, our opponent only has 5 Dawn to play with, so only 2 of these cards can attack. They can go 5/5/5. We would counter all 3 and then Nami on the next turn, remove a body, Luffy, remove a body, attack it with all the other bodies. We'd be in a really good position. So they're going to play Adeline. This plays out a 3 cost or less from your hand, and on KO draws a card. The Cheetah Arlong, which times 1 Dawn and when attacking. You get to attack in and do all those things. We'll go ahead and if we take this, we can gain a life next turn, so we should be okay because we're going to remove a lot of the board this turn. Granted, they're not going to commit with these bodies on the board, so we could 2k. We'll 2k this and try to get them to commit more. Granted, these are probably going to be 5s, so we didn't have to give up 2ks, but I kind of want to keep all of these in hand. All of them have very strong effects for what we're trying to do right now. Blocker is obviously saving us life, and they decide not to attack, which I do think is a good decision. We will remove the Arlong this turn. So, do we ever need to remove the other bodies off the board? We're going to swing in for 6, and then we're going to swing in for 6. We're just trying to get a few hits in and see what we can decide to do. We are going to play the Vegapunk here. We are going to pop the Luffy as well and pop the Arlong. I don't want to place cards from my hand, into the trash. They're going to get a Perfume Femur, trash that to draw a card. We're going to remove their body off the board. Ooh, that's one of the weakest cards you could have drawn. We're going to go with the Vegapunk first to cheat out a... I don't think we ever need a 5/7 in this match. I don't think it ever helps us. I think we're better getting the blocker. The 5/7 is convenient for pressure, but for board control, not so much. I think we're better having the blocker that's going to block out a little 5k attacks pretty easily. And then we can go ahead and... I don't want to commit too much not to the board, but too much to the board either. We could just deploy the Luffy, pop the Adeline, and then force them to go in with these small characters. Because they'll only have 7 total Dawns. That's only 5/5/5/5. So we can just block one for free, block another, counter, and we'll be fine. So what we could do is deploy a card. We could also Nami. I think we go with the Luffy to draw a card. We'll play the Luffy, we'll trash the Luffy, trash the Adeline, draw a card, pass. So we actually get more counter in hand as well. Then next turn we can go into the Nami, we have the Lilith, we have the Egghead, which I don't think Egghead's very important in this match. but it's there, you know. But they are hitting the Gravity Blade turn, which is something we kind of have to play around, so they could still go 5-7-7. I don't think that's too good, because these have already drawn them their cards, and then they'd be down Gravity Blade -1 card, 2-3 leader effects. They're down to 2 cards in hand. At that point, we control the entire board. They're only swinging little 5 pokes, so I don't think that's worth it, but it could be, depending on, you know, the situation, I guess, especially with the Gravity Blade. I think you would just Gravity Blade Atlas and Shaka and leave the blocker, because it's a 0k blocker. Like, it's not doing too much to you. They do hit the Gravity Blade, and let's see what they decide. I think Shaka and Atlas are the correct choices. I think that's just the right choice, because then we can't attack in with as much pressure. Yep, good choice by our opponent. Our opponent's playing immaculate. I want to say that right now. Our opponent is playing very well. The issue is, the reason you can't take is they could discard 3 cards and then just put all of it on one character, but they don't have unblockable, so we could actually just take this. We just know we have to gain a life next turn and be super greedy. And we get nothing. Nice. This is the issue with the Shaka here. Not triggering bodies out of life is really bad. This does kind of force our blocker, but we're okay with that, I think. Again, this Shaka is just not great for this match specifically. It's easy to remove. I mean, it would have just gotten bottom decked last turn. They would have bottom decked the Shaka and the other Shaka instead, rather than, I mean, would have kept a body on the board, but they would have also had one more attacker coming in. So another 5 poke. We will give them the Shaka, because the Shaka is not going to do much in this match. And then we're going to have to really decide what to do. They're going to go with another 5 here. We'll go ahead and 2k this. We have plenty of counter. Not too worried about it. We'll probably block if they do another attack in. Yep. So they do attack in again. We will just block this and save cards in hand. That's probably not what they're expecting, but it is what it is. We can go with gaining a life, then Nami, KO card. So we'll go 5 into the Arlong. I think that's the right choice. And then tap 1 to gain a life, tap 5 and leave 1 Dawn active, baiting an event. We just do have to play around unblockable, because we can remove 2 bodies off the board. They're not really drawing cards. They're hitting their 9 Dawn turns. They're hitting that big Jinbe with Rush soon. That is an issue, because then they can go in with 2 characters. Like I said, we do Shaka first, of course. Deploy a card, add a card to the top of life. This gives us 5 or less cards in hand, so that we do get to filter with the Nami, trashing the Egghead and drawing a card. Then we're sitting on 2 Dawn. We only have 1 brick. We have 4k counter. We pass. I do think that's the correct play in this situation specifically. Here's where the Shaka is going to be a lot more clutch, though, in the Lilith as well, just drawing us cards, because we could Lilith and not lose hand size at all. We need to get the Shaka on the board, of course, because they are going to hit us. We could also just start swinging really heavy into the Lilith, which is another option. We're not in the greatest spot. We are not in the greatest spot. This is a match that I think you need to go a lot more aggro than board control, kind of force them to swing your board. They play out the Fisher Tiger, which is really good tempo-wise for us. Then they play out the Chew, that draws them a card. Totally insane. This card is busted. Absolutely insane value there. So they have 5 in hand. They probably just swing 5-5 right here. That's what I would assume, at least. If they swing 5-5, we just take, get this on the board. And they could go unblockable by leaving the 2 Dawn active. So they could leader effect here, put 2 Dawn on Chew, force us to counter this attack, which is very important, because if not, they're baiting unblockable, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 Dawn on leader, they'd be swinging 11. So it forces us to actually counter this with the Shaka. That is very high level play right there, because you have to think about this unblockable 2 Dawn. We know they run Perfume Femur, and we know Jinbe on average runs 2 to 4 Perfume Femurs, usually 4. So it's something you have to play around. Now they swing in for 7 into Lilith. They control the board a lot more, which is the correct choice, 100%. Great plays by our opponent. We'll go ahead and go 5 into 3 here. We're going to play out the Lilith. We're going to go Lilith, draw a card. We're going to go with Lilith, draw another card. Look at the top 5 and grab something. Ooh, the Egghead Vegapunk would be really good here. But we could also Rayquaza, but we can leave the Rayquaza Dawn active, actually. No, then we'd have to discard a card. We can't discard a card in this situation. The Bonnie would be nice, but we're too far behind to go with the Bonnie. I think what we do is just add a card to the top of life. Rayquaza, pass. We have 1 Dawn active in case we didn't want to trigger it, but of course we are. We have the Vegapunk, the Nami, the Luffy. We have so much in the trash that we can use. Especially if they attack the Nami first, then we can use the Nami to then KO something else. Could also just get a 5-7 on the board. We could get a draw on the board. There's options. There's a lot of options, actually. So I think they start with 7 into 5. 7 into face. So they're going to bounce whatever we play out, more than likely, back to our hand. Using the 8 cost 10k with Rush. Bounce a card back. And they get to draw 2 cards as well, and they get to trash 2 cards to then swing 5, 7, 10. That's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty good. So what gets us value, although it dies? So we'll Rayquaza, use the effect. We'll get the Vegapunk, see what we decide to cheat out. Shaka. Every time Shaka. Give me 2 blockers. Trash the Nami. This at least gets us something going tempo-wise. We get 2 blockers on the board, so if they bounce something, we're still not in the worst position. Granted, we don't really have removal for a 10k. They're going to just attach 2 Active Dawn here. We will go ahead and counter this with a 2k because they're just swinging 5. They still have the 8 Dawns, so they can still go with everything they need to. Instead, they go with Jozu. They bounce a card to bounce our Shaka, which does make sense to me because that basically just gives them free Dawn. They can play the Chew Out, draw a card, stays active, so we can't really swing into it. Really good tempo plays here with the Jozu. Jozu's kind of busted in this deck, I'm not going to lie. So they're going to swing at us. This is their last attack for the turn. We're going to use the trigger to get the shock on the board. Is there ever a turn we go for lethal here? Is there ever a way we go for lethal? We kind of have to. Well, we only have 4 attacks. There's never a turn we can go for lethal here. I guess we'll go... We need to survive this attack. That's the issue, is we have to survive all of this. I think we're going to go 9 Fisher Tiger. I think that's all we can do. Because we've been starved out of hand size. They are going to counter this. 2k, 2k. That makes sense to me. 2k, 2k, 1k. Now... We'll go 5 into our opponent because we're not going to be able to swing 7. I'm going to try to make this work. Do they have a trigger of some sort? If they have a Gravity Blade trigger, we're cooked. We're going to go 5 more into our opponent. We're going to leave 1 Dawn active in case we get the Rayquaza off the top. Because we're going to tap 5 for Nami, replace Nami, and KO the Chew. They counter this, of course, which is the correct choice. We're going to tap 5, discard the Frankie to get the Chew. We do get the Lilith, which does not help us. Add a card to top of life, Shaka, pass. Hopefully, and I mean hopefully, we can somehow win the game. The issue is they can just swing board here. Fun fact. They can also go unblockable with 10k, right? They can just play it, discard. Oh yeah, they just win the game. Block. We're worried about Perfume Femur. We know they have it, and they put us down to such a bad position. We have to block this as well. And then they could either just swing into board, guaranteeing they don't lose, or they can just guaranteed win from the unblockable. So they tap 8, discard a card. Yep. They discard a card, the Red Rock. No, they Red Rock our character. That's wild to me. I mean, I guess that works if you don't have the 8 cost 10k Jinbe with Rush. If you ain't got it, you ain't got it. You know what I mean? It is what it is. We're going to keep surviving. Dreshi, perfect top deck. Exactly what you need sometimes. Double Rayquaza is crazy. I am definitely going to double Rayquaza here. We can swing 1 to gain a life, 1 more to counter, 5 to play a card. We can swing 5 into our opponent here. That's all we got. Yep, they counter that. We're going to go and play the Lilith. The Nami's not bad, but not great right now. We're going to add a Rayquaza to the top of our life and pass. So we have 1 more active character. We're just whittling down each other's resources. We are going to cheat out the Vegapunk, which will force us to discard the Nami. We know we have a 3k counter at that point. We will let the Nami die, of course, because there's not too much we can do. If they have the Jinbe and they can bounce our card back, then they kind of just win the game. I mean, just in all honesty. Is there a better card to cheat out? Maybe the 5/7 Shaka to go for lethal soon, but they still have too many life. The issue is the Rush and then the unblockable. So we actually have to use the trigger to cheat out a blocker here. I think we go with the Vegapunk. We'll cheat out something else, which is going to be the Lilith. We could have cheated out the other Lilith, but then we don't get to draw a card. So now we have to trash a card, but then we get to draw another card. So we're still cycling the same position. We can get the Shaka here to have a blocker on the board, which I think makes the most sense. Just because we're going to have to prolong this game as much as possible to win. We have 4k counter now in hand, so we're still in a good position. They play out the Hachon. They get to draw a card on KO. It's okay. Just gives them another body on the board, to be honest. This will just block the 9k. They have 5 Dawn. They're going to play something? No, they're not going to play something. Okay. So 5, 1. We can go... We're going to have to play the Shaka here, so we can go 7 in the face. Double 7s, I think. because we have to end the game soon. We could swing the board. Could just blast one of these characters, but is that enough? Okay, so what we'll do is swing 9 into a character and see what they decide to do off that. They do have the Gum Gum Cobra. Interesting. So now we know not to commit too much. We can go into face with a 5, because that's what we're kind of stuck doing. We can tap 5 for a Shaka, tap 1, add a card to the top of the life, another Rayquaza, and pass. We still have 1 Dawn active, floating as if there's something in our hand. They did take that life. We could have the Rush Bonnie. They get to draw 2 cards of the Jinbe, bounce a Shaka back to our hand, and now this will have Rush. 4 cards of discards, that's 8k counter going back on the board. So discard 7, discard 7, discard 9, so it's 7, 7, 7, 9, 9. They're gonna go 5 into the board, you got it. They're gonna go probably just 7 into the board, and you got it again. Or 6 into the board, or 7 into 6, jeez. Quick math. 7 into face, we'll use the trigger, use this. We're gonna cheat out the Vegapunk again. Look at the top 5. Another Shaka sounds good to me. That does sound good to me. We'll block the 5. They're gonna swing 10 into the Shaka here. We'll just block that. Oh, 5 into us. Do we take this? Because we kind of have to go for game on this next turn. We have to hope we top deck a 9-cost Jewelry Bonnie and go for lethal. Correct? Correct. Okay, so we do have to take this because we lose no matter what. Damn! We don't lose no matter what. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1. I think we can commit 1 blocker. I think we just go 8 in the face. I'm going to test this out. I don't know if this works or not. We're going to find out. Vegapunk, cheat out. Lilith draws a card. Edison draws 2, trash 2. That's not what we need. We need to just draw 1 card. Add a card to the top of our life. Shaka. Pass. 1, 2, 3, 4 total blockers. 2k counter. Gravity Blade, detrimental. Unblockable, detrimental. This is a crazy match, I'm not gonna lie. I think we just lose no matter what now, especially because, again, Perfume Femur is just that good. But this is crazy work right now. We've already seen 2 Perfume Femurs hit the trash, but they've seen 32 cards of their deck at this point. I guess 31 because they have 1 in life they haven't seen yet. They did use 1 as a trigger to draw a card. They used 1 as a discard fodder, I think. Crazy work right here. We do have to block this. We're showing them that we don't have a 2k, 1k, because if we did, obviously we would have just countered it. I think no matter what, we do just lose on the math. Another Jinbe that bounces our blocker. They then get to just swing in for 10, take it, use a trigger. They go unblockable. Oh, they can't go unblockable now. I think no matter what, though, the math just works for them. Because they just go, okay, you shouldn't even swing with Hachan. You should just swing, put all the Dawn on your leader, and go 12, 12. It's just guaranteed math, right? I guess not, because we have, no, it would be. 12, 12 would be guaranteed. So what they should have done there is just discard 3 cards, go to Jinbe, discard 1 card, go to this Jinbe, and it just guarantees lethal. I guess this works as well, but I think that math just makes a little more sense. Leaves you a character active at the end of the day. Granted, we are holding up 2 Dawn, so it could be 6k counter there, and they don't really know that it's not 6k counter there, you know what I mean? So they did have the Perfume Femur. They could have also just Perfume Femur their Jinbe and gone in for lethal, guaranteed, unblockable. But this makes sense too, because even with this, it'd be 6k counter, we'd be at 11. GG's crazy grindy match there with the Jinbe. They also had the Red Rock out of life, which is absolutely insane. And there's that Jewelry Bonnie we needed to finish the game last turn. That would have been insane if we could have gotten it, but when you look at everything, they just discarded 2k, 2k, 1k. They would have had 5k counter. So take a life, swing 5, swing 6, swing 7. So they 2k, 2k, 1k. They wouldn't have lost anyways. Didn't really matter. GG's to our opponent. Maybe they drew some card in between that we didn't notice because they did only have 3 cards in hand. Now they have 5. So, I don't know. GG's. Crazy grindy match there with the Jinbe. Really hard fought match. Good game. Not everyone's going to high roll like we did. Getting that many of the Vegapunks and that many of the Shakas, that many Rayquazars. But that's how you have to grind it out here with Vegapunk. Good game, on to the next one. Probably two of the worst colors for our deck specifically. Our opponent chooses to go first, so we are going second, and I love this Lilith early. Go ahead and deploy it, draw a card, and pass. So you see how we didn't lose any cards in hand, and we got a 5-cost 6K on the board? That's why you play this card. Absolutely brutal for our opponent. They play out the Marguerite. They get to look at the top 5 villain Amazon, Pirates type, and then trash a card. They grab the Boa Hancock, which is amazing, especially in this matchup. And we don't really want to remove their board. This would be the turn to do it, though, because right now they don't have the anti-removal, so we may actually just do that. We'll go, we don't have a 3-cost, so we'll go 7 into our opponent and see what they decide to trigger out, to see if there's a better body to KO. But I will be KOing something this turn. See, this is a draw 2, trash 2, so I guess it doesn't really matter. They're both 5Ks at the end of the day, so we will go ahead and remove one while we can, rather than playing other cards. We'll discard the Pythagoras and then KO the Marguerite. We do not take a life because they don't have a Dawn attached to the leader, and we pass with 2 3K counters active, so we don't really have to worry about that because they are probably swinging 5 and then 7. They could also go 6 and 6. They get to stack the deck, the top 3. They're also playing a blocker that forces us to take life, so we have to think about that because that's very important. This deck can force us to take life by blocking, so something we have to really play around, especially because they will have Dawn on their leader going forward. So they get a free Dawn from this card on their leader, in case you didn't know. In case you didn't know. They're going to go 6 here. And I will say, we're probably just going to let this die. Probably just going to let this die. Granted, we don't have a 2K, so maybe we counter the first one, and then we'll let it die after that. There's no way we can really save it that much, and I don't want to give up my whole hand size. We have cards that are going to draw us cards anyways, so we don't really have to worry about it. We're not even going to swing the Nami because they have a free block here, so we're just going to get some bodies on the board. We're going to play this, the Lilith, to draw a card. We're going to deploy the Lilith to then draw another card to find some combo pieces we may need. We're definitely going to need some 2Ks here because they're going to go pretty aggressive. I would love to grab the Vegapunk, but without having any active Dawn, we're low on counter. So we're going to have to grab the Edison in this situation specifically and then pass to our opponent. We also could have gained a life and then, cheated out the Lilith. Granted, we wouldn't draw a card, but it would still be a body on the board nonetheless, which is still pretty strong. Or we could counter with cards in our hand and then cheat those out by gaining life, but I think this is better in the situation we're in. They're going to be swinging 5, 6, and then probably leaving the blocker active in this situation. So they're going really wide, which we do need to play around things correctly. They're going to swing a 5. We will go ahead and counter this, and then we'll take the second attack. So we are definitely going to be gaining life on this next one. They decide not to attack us, which is really freaking good. We're going to Dareshi, look at the top 5, and grab 2 cards. We can't really KO the board. That is very important, so the Nami is useless. We'll grab a 2K counter and a Shaka. I do think Shaka's going to be the play here. Could grab 2 2Ks, but I don't think we're going to need 2 2Ks. We'll start with 6 into our opponent and see what they decide to do. We're going to try to leave 2 Dawn active if at all possible and gain a life, so we have 2 additional Dawn to play with. We swing 6, they take. They get to play a card with 6,000 power less from their hand, draw 2, trash 2 if your opponent has 3 less life, which we do. So they're going to go really wide here. I'm not 100% confident if we're supposed to out-aggro them or what is the best situation. I am expecting them to block at some point. So they take that life. Will they block this attack? Is there a world we just play out a blocker and pass? That would give us a 6K on the board. And then we'd have 2 3K counters. I definitely don't hate that. The big thing is just this blocker, but because I'd rather put a body on the board than gain a life, I feel like. So we will just deploy the Shaka and pass, because I don't want them to use this blocker. It'd be really bad commitment for our opponent, but we already have them down to 2 life. They are playing 9, so that's more than likely going to be another Boa here. I'm assuming they use the trigger because they have another one, so they can force us to take a life, so we need to keep that in mind. This is just 5. We could just free block. I don't hate the free block, actually, because then they won't have Dawn on their leader either, so we can kind of clear up the board. I will take a free block when we have it. I don't see any situation where we shouldn't. 5, we'll counter 1, and now we're sitting on 2 Rayquazars here, so we're kind of forcing our opponent to commit a little more than they would like to, so I'm okay forcing them to commit as much as possible. So here, if they swing 5, we know they're playing the 9 cost. They're going to gain a life, then we're going to lose a life. They're going to leave this Boa as active, so they're not. They are, in fact, not. They want to swing really big into our 6K. We'll let it go. We could have, I guess, saved it, but we did not know the exact order they were going to do things. They discard a card, gain a life, do all the things that they're supposed to do. And now we have 2 attacks coming in. We have 1 Dawn to gain life, 3, 3, leave 1 active. So actually, we can go 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We can go 9 and 9. and leave the blocker active to stay alive. I think that makes the most sense to me. We'll go 9 at their face. They probably take the first one. No, they block the first one. Okay. So that's telling us we're actually able to go into board now. We could go into board here due to the situation they've put us in. So we can actually go 9 to the board. They've already killed something. This is once per turn. So I think it's better to clear the board than give them more bodies. And then we'll add a card to the top of our life and then pass. So we're definitely in a losing position here. Thanks to the Kumas. The Kumas are really strong value for our opponent. They also force us to take a life, but we did leave one Dawn active in case that did happen. We'll go ahead and counter 1 here. And they're kind of putting us in a position where if we take, we'd be in a pretty bad spot. We need to save the board. I think we just lose. Legitimately, we kind of just lose in this situation because they just keep forcing us to take life here with the Boa Hancocks. That is pretty bad. That is pretty bad. We could have completely countered this, but we kind of need to save our board at some point while also losing our board in other ways. 2, 3, 4, 5. Gain 1 life, so we can go 8 in the face, but they're gaining 1 life every single turn, so the 1 attack is not enough. But I think it's all we have. We're going to go 8 in the face. We weren't able to go aggressive enough. This is a really hard match for us to take on. Like I said, it's the worst 2 colors for us. Yellow is really bad for us, and blue is really bad for us. So they just have too many options. They do have the Perfume Femur, which now we know. Granted, we know that now. So they do have unblockable. They discard the Lilith. We're going to tap 5 here, cheat out a body from the top 5. It's going to have to be the Lilith. We get to go draw a card from the top 5. And then that's going to be a Shaka. So we're going to put the Shaka into our life. The Bonnie would have been good to finish off the game, but in the situation we're in, we have to gain a life in this situation to get the Shaka. Could have put the Shaka on the board just in case. See that we can't take here. No, they can't Perfume Femur and Boa, so we could technically take this. But then we kind of just lose. Because then they do another 5, we counter that. I'm trying to think of the math. We need the blocker on the board, so I think we do use the trigger in case they play out another Boa. Because I don't want to give them cards before that. Now we'll go ahead and 2K this. That's going to be perfectly fine. We do have to play around the unblockable, but I think we do just guaranteed lose. Because we have to block this, and then they swing in again. We have to block that. Then they swing in again. And we do have to block that. And then they swing it again into board, and that's wraps. We don't have the rush option Zoro just yet. They play another freaking Kuma. They found 4 Kumas this game. 4 Kumas is crazy. GG's to our opponent. They had the Perfume Femur, the 0 cost. I mean, they had so much counter. Boa, definitely probably one of our worst matchups here because, again, yellow is just so hard for Vegapunk to beat. Blue is just as hard or almost as hard. So, yeah, taking on Boa Hancock, probably not the best idea. Guys, dodge the match if you can. It's really hard to beat. All right, we're going to take on Crocodile for the last game of the video. We have our 3-Dawn play. We're going to keep this every single time. We have the Lilith to play out early to draw a card to not lose hand size. We have removal for the early game as well. They have Mr. 2, Bentham. They trash 1, and they trash 3 Benthams in 1 search is wild. Blasphemous work right there. Play out the Lilith, draw a card, pass. Boom. Nice and easy. We're going to have a huge hand size. The Shirahoshi that we know that they play could be some downside to it. They can force us to discard a bunch of cards right now. Put the Benthams back to the bottom of the deck because they don't really need this card that much, but instead they go with the Disappointed. That allows them to look at the top 3 again. They grab a Ground Death, and they trash the Daz Bones and the Miss All Sunday because now they can play out the Mr. 2, rest whatever we play out, and then attack into it with the Daz Bones. They're going to swing 7 at us. We're going to use the trigger to draw a card. I do think you do that in that situation because we already have one in hand and I don't really need another one. And then we'll go ahead and just swing 6 into our opponent. They're going to rest down the character anyways. We're not going to worry about going too wide here. We're going to go with the Dareshi, draw 2. We're going to grab probably a Bonnie in this match and a Shaka. It's good to have Shaka at some point anyways. The Lilith is also good, but not necessary. And then we'll go and deploy a card, which is going to be the Atlas, because we're in the impression that they're going to play out the Daz Bones. So they do play out the Daz Bones. That's kind of okay with what we're trying to do. Sorry, my phone went off for a second there. It was just a random YouTube ad, and I'm not even watching YouTube right now. Drinking Alani, drink of the day. Shout out Marine for TCG type shit. Yeah, Crocodile. Really freaking hard match here for Vegapunk, I'm not going to lie. I didn't even take a sip of my drink because it's empty. I realized after I picked it up it said drink of the day. Yeah, this is a hard match. They shut down your entire board with the Hakuba, the 5 cost, that just KOs another card on their board. They can do it 3 times in 1 turn. Insane tempo plays there. Yeah, let's see what they decide to do here. We're waiting, Crocodile. You know you just play out the Bentham, you trash the Bentham, you play out the Daz Bones, you get to rest a card, you get to attack on the turn it's played, you swing 6 and 6 into the Lilith. We counter both of them because we have a huge hand size, and that would be the turn. So they may swing the 6 first. We could totally shut down the character by, you know, not countering this or by countering this, but no, we won't do that. I'm fine going lower in hand size because we do have the filter here with the Nami. They do play the Bentham. They could have maybe done something different, and they're trying to see if they could do either option. Because they could play the Bentham, they could play the other guy that grabs a card from the trash back to the hand, return the Missile Sunday, then play Missile Sunday to play the Bentham. They decide not to Bentham this turn. We could KO the Bentham, but then they get to play out a 5 cost 6k. What if we double blow it up? Oh my god, I'm doing this for the meme. I'm going to let you know right now, this is not what you should do. What I'm about to do, you should not do, but I'm going to do this for the fun of the game. I do this for the boys back home. This is going to be the most toxic thing I've ever done. I'm going to KO the Bentham to then KO the Bentham. Watch this. 5, discard, KO. They get the on KO to then play out a 5 cost or less from their trash or their hand. So we're forcing the action now. They cheat out the Daz Bones, which then rest the Nami. Oh no, it doesn't because it's not 0 cost. And then guess what? Tap 1, deploy a Nami, discard the Atlas, KO the Daz Bones. You lose your entire board. Your game plan's over. You lose 2 cards in hand because you countered out aggressively. He said in chat, damn. Lol. That's funny. That is freaking funny. That's good work right there. They get the Mr. 4 Babe. That can add cards back from the trash to their hand. They're at the 7 Dawn. They could have played the Missile Sunday and chose not to because they decided not to grab it, which I do think is incorrect. But also the first, the Mr. 2, 3 of those in there play is crazy. I'll go ahead and 2K this. Might as well save the board since we can. We're not really in a pressured spot where we can't do that. We're going to go and play this out to draw a card, see if there's something we want to put in life. There is something we want to put in life. So we're going to swing 6. And then 6, and then 6, and then 6, and then 6, and then 7, and then 10, and then 50, and then 100k, and then we should be putting on a lot of pressure. We're going to go a bunch of 6s, because I do like to pressure out the 2Ks now, so whenever we go for lethal, we're in a way better position. Also, if we can force the blocker down, that puts us in a pretty good spot. We could also swing 5 and then 7, but the blocker gets rid of the 7, the 1 card gets out of the 5, so it's better math-wise just to go with the 6s all around. So, also this card, this Nami, SP, $950 right now. Kind of crazy. Vegapunk players, I never got mine. If you want to make a donation to your boy, I can drop a P.O. box for you. I would love to have a donation to this, but I don't think I'm ever going to have this Nami again. My bad, I'm back. Oh wait, are you the YouTuber guy? I guess I am. Lol, type shit. And to show you his reply. Fire, lol. Alright, back to getting smoked. Valid. You getting smoked like a pack, my guy. He uses a 4K counter for that, which is absolutely insane. Swing another 6. I want you to know I'm very patient. I waited so long for that, and I really don't mind. 6 more. I'm just dogging him right now. Dogging him doggy style right now, and I hope he likes it. Put that card into life, because we're just going to gain life. We already have a full board, so why would you even gain a board? They're going to be able to shut down 3 attacks here, and this is where we lose the game. We're going to be hitting our 10 Dawn turn. It's going to be very advantageous for us. But the Crocodile, this card, shuts down a card on the board from attacking. Nice. KO it. Guess what? Shut down another card from attacking on the board. Nice. So then we'll only have 3 attacks and we'll have a blocker up, or you can commit the blocker and then force us to counter out with 2 different cards. And with a small hand size, I'm going to do it anyways. So that we still get a card on the board. Now they're going to swing 6 into 5. That makes the most sense to me. Definitely KOing it. Nothing I can do there. Nothing to see here. And then they get to pop it, and then they get to KO another card. Now they don't have a blocker, which is convenient, but they still get to stop a card from attacking, and that should be the 6K. Now we're going to swing 5, 6, 9 cost 10K. And hope. And hope. So hopefully we can finish this off pretty soon. We are going to do the 5, and then see what they decide to do. We could go even 7 and not gain a life. How cocky are we feeling? I'm not feeling that cocky. We'll just go with the 6. We know they had limited 2Ks earlier, so we saw them take. They're going to give us 2 1Ks here. 2 1Ks is Astro... Oh, good game. Good game. Yep, we know they had limited 2Ks because we were just burning them. we were just burning the 2Ks there, and so the 9 cost 10K definitely won the game. 2 of the ground death is crazy. GG's. Hey, appreciate you for playing against me. That was a good game. The big thing I think would just be leaving up the Dawn there if at all possible. Not putting the 1 Dawn on your leader, just swinging 5 and 5. Because when we have 3 cards in hand, I think if you just don't attack into the 6K, you're fine. So, GG's to our opponent. Nice try, Crocodile. That was a good game. And that was your Vegapunk deck profile. I think it showed off some good things. It showed off the weaknesses of Vegapunk. Even with this Atlas, we still had limited hand size, but I do think you could see the value in it. I think you see the limited value in Shaka only in certain matchups where maybe you could drop this down to a 2 of and up whatever else you're more comfortable with playing. Maybe another Luffy, more Pythagoras, whatever you personally like. Shaka's good. There's just certain matchups it doesn't feel good, like that Jinbe match. It'd be nice to have on the board earlier, but it gets bottom decked so easily in blue. If you're a Vegapunk player, you know how hard yellow and blue are to face. Every other color I think you do okay in against most other matchups other than like removal-based matchups like, you know, Shanks and Red-Blue Vivi and Emu. And yeah, there's a bunch of decks that Vegapunk doesn't, you know, particularly like, and that's where the Shaka does come into play, being a lot stronger. So it really depends on what your meta is locally. If you do more Shakas, if you like the Atlas, the Lilith, whatever you like more, there's always merit to it. Remember, it always comes down to your local meta. This was a very fun deck to play as always. I love Vegapunk just so much. I think we did most things correct. I also have been, like I've said, on hiatus from One Piece, so maybe I didn't play immaculately 24/7. If I didn't, leave comments down below on what I did misplay to help other people learn to play better, because that's what we're here to do. Good game to all my opponents. I appreciate you guys for watching. Like and subscribe. It's a free way to support your boy. If you want to ever see me play other TCGs, I can start doing that on the channel because I started recently playing Magic, Riftbound, and a few others. So I'm excited to do so much just TCG, and this is Mr. Pow TCG, not Mr. Pow One Piece. So yeah, I love One Piece so much. I have, you know, kind of dabbled in some other stuff recently. If you guys ever want to see anything like Commander Knights and anything like that, I'd love to do it. I appreciate you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.